Now, before we get started, I would really love if you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can get the latest content from the YouTube channel, The Last Rewind. And don't be shy about leaving your comments at the bottom of the page because you are the sole reason why this channel will be successful. Thank you. Hey, welcome guys to The Last Rewind with me, Big Red. And before we get into today's topic, make sure and hit the like and subscribe button so you can get future episodes of The Last Rewind. So I'm going to go break down and get into this. Micah Parsons, number 11, defensive end, very talented cat of the Dallas Cowboys, who I do not think he's lived up to his billing yet. And he's still young. He may get there eventually. It seems, though, that he's making more headlines for controversy than what he does on the field. It's what he does off the field. And he recently got in some controversy after the drubbing that they got by the Eagles Sunday. I think the score was 36-6. Complete blowout at home. Embarrassing. He brought a little bit of inspiration in the first half, and Dallas just dropped off after that. So the game probably should have been about, well, the media wanted to talk about, what happened during the game, what they could have done better. And at one point, they asked about Mike McCarthy, that's going to be the topic for the rest of the season. Let's just be honest, because he's on the chopping block more than likely. I know Jerry has proved to be crazy so far, but more than likely he's probably gone. And sometimes it helps to get a ringing endorsement from your players. But Micah Parsons wasn't about that. He played an audio of what he had to say when the reporter was asking him, do you think Mike McCarthy will be around next year? Paraphrasing.
Mike can leave and go wherever he wants, but the guys I kind of feel bad for is guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year on their way out, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
Okay, what was missing in that audio? Sorry, we couldn't get the very, very beginning. A reporter was asking him about the future of Mike McCarthy. He was like, I can't really give an answer on that. It's above my pay grade. So when I hear that, and I don't want to misinterpret it, but when I hear that, he's saying, well, I'm not the boss. I don't make these decisions. I'm not the general manager. I don't make these decisions. So it's above my pay grade. So I don't have an opinion on that. Really? Micah Parsons does not have an opinion of what can happen with a football team when he has a podcast produced after the show where he gives his opinion about every team in the NFL, including his. Including not too long ago, he did a show where he talked about the top 10 NFL quarterbacks in the league. I'll give it to him. He's giving what his opinion is. He didn't say Dak was his top quarterback, and quite frankly, he's very honest to say that. No one in the NFL, unless you are completely blind, completely even deaf, because you can hear those interceptions coming when he throws them, would say that Dak is a top 10 quarterback or even a top 20. At this point, no. Yes, he was in the running for MVP the year before, but that was fool's gold for a myriad of reasons I won't get into right now. But right now, before he got injured, of course, with the hamstring injury, he is not a top 10 quarterback. But here's the problem with that. See, football, more than even basketball, is a team sport. You have to come together amongst every person that's on that field, offense and defense. You all have to play as a unit. When you speak bad about one person, that affects the whole team. He could have just said, nah, that's my quarterback. He's the quarterback we want for this team going forward and even in the present. You didn't have to list Dak up there if you want to. Most players on the team would avoid the question, or they just would have said, Of course, my quarterback is a top 10 quarterback. You know, it's not always about even being honest in that type of moment. It's about helping your teammate along. If a teammate is struggling, you say some things to give them encouraging words to help them along in the future and of course in the present. This is before Dak got injured. This is a guy that just signed a contract to be the top quarterback of the league. Maybe he's going through his struggles this year, but you still should, at this point, you should have praises for your quarterback. But this is telling me that he doesn't have faith in Dak, and neither do I. So is he being overly honest? Quite frankly, yes, he is. But you can't afford to do that. Me, the fan, can afford to do that. But you who are in the locker room and going to war with your soldier, your compadre, you can't afford to do that. And if he has an opinion about Dak, then he should also have an opinion in support of Mike McCarthy. He didn't say really one way or the other. He just said, that doesn't really matter to me. What I really want to talk about is Zach Martin, a guy who has put in a whole lot more work, paraphrasing, a whole lot more work than Mike McCarthy has ever done. And he claims the media has twisted his words. No, dude, you gave it to us raw like that, balls. That's how we understood it. And in a way, I guess it's good that he has a podcast because he can come and apologize and give his side of the story. But I mean, he also can just, release an apology on Twitter or Instagram or whatever outlet there is. He doesn't have to have a whole podcast. I don't know if this podcast is a good thing for a lot of reasons. For one, I don't think a lot of these podcasters who are athletes first can be honest. A lot of them just give broad views of how the game is going or how they play. They don't really delve deep and they can't really say when another player is playing bad because they're afraid that they're going to lose friends within the NFL industry. And analysts don't care about that. The analysts are trying to get the answer right. They're trying to appeal to the audience. That's who it's for. It seems like the podcasts are for the athletes, not the audience. You say something negative, you could give encouraging words for the opponent, fodder for the opponent to kick your behind next Sunday or Monday, wherever the NFL game is on. So you have to be careful when it comes to that. And I think Micah Parsons have said things since he started his podcast that have rubbed the opponents the wrong way. But right now, I'm not going to get in that. Get back to McCarthy. McCarthy, he had a chance to defend McCarthy. But see, he said the media twisted his words. Okay, let's hear what your apology was.
So the intent, whether it came out right or wrong, and maybe I should expand it, and I made the mistake, and I apologize publicly to Mike McCarthy. You should never compare coach to player, but I wasn't trying to compare that. I was just literally trying to ignite, someone who meant a lot to me's career, and that's who I kind of have more sympathy for. If he retires, he'll never play this game again. And me knowing how good of a coach McCarthy is, he'll probably get another opportunity, if not with us. So, that stuff really bothers me. I can't even lie to you. And I'm thankful that I have this platform because people would take your words and twist them and find ways to use them against you. Because, I think that's the importance of players having platforms so you can fight against this negativity that people put out.
Okay. So again, you say you have this podcast to be able to speak up for the player, basically, is what I'm hearing. But it's not above your pay grade to do that. So if it's not above your pay grade to talk about the players who are put on the team by the GM, general manager, who happens to be Jerry Jones, why can't you talk about Mike McCarthy if you can talk about players? What I think is he didn't want to talk about Mike McCarthy because he really does not want him back here. Now you're honest when it came to, talking about Dak not being your top 10 quarterback, and that's fine. Have your opinion. But don't sideswipe it and act like, oh, now I can't talk about it because it's out of my jurisdiction to talk about coaches. If he sucks, go ahead and say it. But see, that would definitely divided the locker room. And if you believe that, then you can't do it with anyone else. If you're going to talk about Dak in that manner, that's going to divide the locker room. If you're just going to not give any respect to Mike McCarthy when it comes to that, and not give him a ringing endorsement because you talked about how you respect him and how he brought you in the league. That's not on the audio, but if you go listen to his podcast, how he respects Mike brought him in. Mike has taught him some stuff. And he said, I didn't really want to focus on that because Mike McCarthy can find a job somewhere else because, he won the Super Bowl. He's a good coach. That's the best endorsement I guess he had. But he can go find a job somewhere else. Zach Martin, once his career is over, it's over. He has nothing else to do. You don't know if Mike McCarthy is going to have a job somewhere else because based off how it ended with Green Bay and based off how it's ending probably this year, this may be the end of the road for him. He may be assistant coach or defensive coach or something somewhere else. We don't know he's going to be a head coach somewhere. It's hard to get a job in the NFL. Hard. And you decide not to give him a ringing endorsement. Fine. But if you're going to do it for one, you got to do it for the other. If you're going to criticize Dak or any other player on that team, then why not criticize the coach openly? And if you're going to be, quiet about what you say about the coach, be quiet about what you say about Dak. See, this is the problem with the podcast. I do not think his podcast brings his teammates together. And maybe because he's young, he doesn't know how to handle what he says in the media. You know a lot of things that you say when you're young. You're, a little bit more reserved when you get older because you can offend people in certain ways because it may come out wrong, and that's a mistake he may have made. We can give him that. That was a mistake, but this is the problem. When you can just say a small media bite on a press conference after a game versus you going back to your platform and having a half hour to an hour or more to talk about teammates on your team, on the opposing team, you can put yourself in more hot fire when you're not media trained. I'm not media trained, so I'm not saying I'm the best person to talk about games and such, but neither is he. And I noticed another thing, and maybe this is small potatoes, and maybe this is this new generation thing, but when did they just start calling the coaches by their first name like that? There's no Coach Mike, no Coach McCarthy. That seems like, I don't know if that's, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I just noticed that. I don't know if that's a new generational thing or that's just a disrespectful thing. Because your coach is supposed to be above your players. You're supposed to respect your coach because he put you in position to win. He creates the game plan. He does all the stuff. When he's talking about he doesn't put in, well, he didn't say he didn't put in work. He doesn't put in as much work as Zach Martin. Of course, he doesn't put it on the football field, but I'm sure that he studies hours and hours of tape. He's away from his family for months on end. Maybe not better than most coaches because it doesn't seem reflective in the Dallas record this year. But still, respect should be had for your coach. And maybe that's not his fault. Maybe that's just the culture in Dallas. Maybe that's Jerry saying, hey, be loose and free with your coach because buck stops with me, Jerry Jones, because I run everything. I'm the coach. I'm the one who talks after the games. I'm the one that people need to come and talk to and give praises to when the team is doing good. Not so much when they're not doing good, like this year. He doesn't like hearing people say how sorry Dallas is, and he almost wants to fire podcasts or radio hosts because they have an opinion opposing his. That may be the culture. So again, and this new generation, everybody's trying to get a podcast. They're trying to multitask. I guess maybe they're trying to get an extra stream of revenue somewhere. I think it's distracting. I think this time spent that you spent apologizing to Mike McCarthy, after the game, you said you did it publicly. I don't remember hearing a public apology. You said you publicly did it, but I don't remember hearing it besides on your podcast. I don't remember hearing a public apology with you and Mike front and center. The apology must be louder than the disrespect, in my opinion. I'm thinking it's going to be about time to trade Micah Parsons, though. I think he's a talented cat. And unfortunately, though, he may need to go somewhere else so he can grow. I don't know if he's going to be able to grow in Dallas. With the contracts of Dak, CeeDee Lamb taking over, I think, 50% of the cap space for Dallas. And I know he's going to want a big payday, and he deserves it based on potential, because that's what people get paid on nowadays, potential. Now, it's what you've done, potential. It used to be a time you got paid for what you did on the field. He's going to get paid based on potential. That's just what it is. That's just how the league is now. I don't think he's going to be able to get that money. And if he does get the money, I don't know how Dallas builds anything with so little cap space besides, getting players out of the draft and paying them little to nothing. But eventually their payday's going to have to come up. I don't see Dak restructuring his contract that much to help out to pay Micah. So I think it's probably better for Micah to leave. I hate to see him leave still, even with the controversy he creates. But the culture won't change until we get rid of a few bad eggs. And I just don't think Micah, unless you can bring in the right coach, which I don't know who that is, that's going to be able to change this culture as long as Jerry is there, he's going to have to go somewhere else. Trade Micah, get some good players out of him, good draft picks out of him, and rebuild. This is not a team that needs one other good player to make it good or two other good players to make it good. You're going to have to rebuild from the bottom up, as well as have a new coach and change the culture. So Dallas sees prominence again. I don't see it going forward with what we have. I think me and my partner Tremaine, we talked about this. Who would we keep? If we had a choice, Micah or Dak. I said Micah. I would keep Micah over Dak because I just don't think Dak is that kind of a talent that can get us to a Super Bowl or even the NFC Championship. I don't think he is. And he's getting older. He's not getting younger. Micah is on the young side, so he's got a greater upside. But I don't see Dak being able to get us there. But with that being said, since Dak is locked in, he has a no trade clause. So he ain't leaving. No matter how bad it gets, he's staying. We got Trey Lance as a backup and Cooper Rush. There's no future and hope for them. So I don't see no future and hope for next year if Dak's going to be there, unless, again, maybe the next coach he has, maybe he can change the trajectory where Dak's career is going to go. I don't know. Miracles happen sometimes. But I don't see Micah Parsons being here much longer. But then again, let me back up on that statement. Jerry has done dumber things. Micah Parsons, again, an outstanding player with great upside, but with that cap space his contract is going to take up, the team is never going to be great. We're going to be mediocre, maybe a little bit above average, but we're never going to be great because we can't get the personnel to be great. And it's the personnel that needs to be changed from top to bottom. It's the culture that needs to be changed from top to bottom. I don't think the culture influences respect for the coach. Micah could have easily defended Mike McCarthy at that interview and said some nice things and said, no, I would like him to stay. We're just having a bad season. We're having a lot of injuries. We got a new defensive coach, so we're learning a bunch of new things. So it's just a bad year. Next year we'll pick it back up. But he didn't give an endorsement for him. He's like, I don't want to talk about that. It's above my pay grade. But I can talk about everybody else though, somehow. My podcast is about talking about everyone else. So when does the pay grade come in then? That's my opinion about Micah Parsons right now. Let me know what your opinion is. Should he stay? Should he get traded? If there's a way to get rid of Dak, would you get rid of Dak and keep Micah? These are all things I would like to know. Leave your comments in the thing down below. Leave your comments down below is what I mean to say. And please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. I will see you on the next episode of The Last Rewind. Peace.